Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Awesome.
Hey guys, I'm Jane Irwin,
Sharon McKenzie.
and the Teaching Tuesday here is brought to you by the Virtual REI Academy, and just basically a website where you can go to that, and there's all kind of great courses on there on everything residential real estate. So it's kind of one-stop shop with learning anything you need to, and we're adding classes daily. We're talking about adding 6 more within the next couple, like by the end of the year probably. So just and these, all these classes in there, it's practitioners, so it's not people that just talk about doing real estate. It's people with probably over 30 years experience and quite a good portfolio of houses. So it's people that have made mistakes and have done well and pivoted in all different markets. So that's why we bring these, and then we're just trying to add value on Tuesdays on different topics, things we see, things we've done right, and things we've done wrong. So tonight we're going to do exit strategies. That house that you see on the screen that you're drowning in, or you bought wrong or something, and how to get out of some of these houses. I think it's very easy to buy a property, and it's very easy to buy a property the wrong way. So then a lot of people get caught up, and it's a one and done, because it messes up everything, where you bought the property, you're all happy, and then everything goes to hell in a handbasket, and you're basically, you're just done. It's people's mental fortitude, don't get them back from that. So there are a lot of exit strategies, and ask us how we know. Basically, we're going to run through some of them. Some of them are a little more advanced. Some of them you probably heard of before, but just some different ways.
And with the exit strategies, we always, when we look at a property before we even buy the property, we come up with the very minimum 2 exit strategies. We like 3 or more. But once you've gotten the property and you're in over your head, you can still brainstorm with other more experienced investors to try to figure your way out of it. So it's not too late if you bought wrong. It's good to buy right to begin with, but if you do get caught up, there's always plenty of different options for you.
And there's times you buy right, and just everything that possibly could happen to you does happen, and then you just, you have to, real estate is basically problem solving. So it's problem solving for the people and problem solving for yourself. So you have to figure out a way to get out of it.
And the 3 basic ones, refinancing, where you just either refinance with the private money lender or the hard money lender, or refinance out of it into a bank loan or more traditional funding.
And that way you can pull some capital out if you need to do some renovations that you didn't initially have prepared for, or you can, try to get the mortgage less. So, say you have a rental property and it's not performing as well as you thought, or you didn't get as much as you thought you were going to get, then you're just kind of trying to refinance out to make the mortgage less, or just get some capital out to make some improvements.
Yeah, or capital out to get it into another opportunity as well. If you're doing well on that one and that house has a lot of equity built into it, you can pull some of that equity out and use the money for the next project. You can renovate it and put it on the market for sale. So, it's to fix it up a little bit or fix it up all the way, and just make sure you have enough in there to be able to sell it and make a profit, or at least break even. So you're not walking away, losing money, losing the deal.
And so some of this depends on the market, and like a perfect example was in Florida. A lot of people took that opportunity to, it was a rental that was performing so then they took that opportunity to renovate it and resell the property, because the prices had went up at such a good rate that it was just, that it was a no-brainer just to fix it up and sell it. And we did a couple of those.
We did one with it was COVID and people were stuck inside. We had a house that was actually one of those condotels, and it was in a hotel that they converted it to condotels on Daytona Beach. And we we weren't making too much money on the short-term Airbnb, and the prices were skyrocketing. So we used that. That's one example of one property that we over double our money for, from our acquisition costs. I'm sorry, our dog is,
Your little puppy is being a puppy. He's been sleeping this whole time and now he's gonna wake up.
yeah. now that we're-
So, and then the next one is the rental market. And basically, sometimes you gotta pivot with the rental market even, the long-term rentals, are working or, and then if they just, the rents or. That was awkward. So the rents are going down or, there's different things you can kind of get out of that. Market, go to Airbnb, go to corporate, maybe make it a rooming house if it's 4 houses, look for a nonprofit that is maybe, they're paying a little bit more. So there's some other options even in the rental market. And then another one is, lease options and next slide.
Next slide. Okay, sorry.
So lease options and seller financing, and this worked out well for us when the market was kind of changing or for things that we do virtually. It's like you might not want to have a rental in the area where you don't have a lot of boots on the ground, but it makes for a good lease option or seller finance it on a land contract. And that way, it's their house and, a lot of people can't get the traditional lending, so they're looking for something else. They'll pay kind of the normal rent kind of prices, and then you're just leasing it out or seller financing.
And then they, usually they'll fix it up if it's, like the cosmetic lipstick, they'll fix it up themselves. You don't have to turn it over. They'll just take it over the way it is. All the systems are working and then, maintain the integrity of the house, the windows, all the systems are working, the roof, and they just go in there, fix it to how they want it cosmetically, and they continue on with it. And you can spread it out for as long as you want. That way, you won't have to have a property manager or anybody, take care of it because it's their house. They're pretty much, taking care of everything for it. You can spread it out 15, 20 years to still have that residual income coming in as if it's a rental, only it's less drama.
So, and a couple other creative ways, and I'm not going to say we've done this one, but you could auction it. We actually did talk to somebody about that, but you could, if you had a problem house and you just wanted to get it going quick, is just auction it off. There's auction houses all over the place, and they're more equipped, they're better experienced, they have a bigger list. So if you really had a problem house that you're just like, you just need to get rid of it and get rid of it fast, reach out to the auction houses. There's a couple good ones there in Baltimore that we've actually bought houses from them, but we've not like used them for that. And then, you can always just wholesale a property if you've kind of run into a problem and, it's like, it's just not going to work with you, then you can always just wholesale it off before you get into a bigger problem. And I'll just give you a little bit of an example. Luckily, we had some other people on board, but, we were all set to close on the house. We had the contractor lined up, everything was, ready to go. And it was in Dundalk. So we're excited about doing it. It was early on. And our contractor decided to go out and ride his motorcycle in the woods with the boys weekend. And we got that call. He was supposed to start on Monday and he was ending up in shock trauma on Saturday. So obviously he was not showing up on Monday. It was a friend of ours and he did make a full recovery, but it kind of threw us in a quandary because, here we have the house, we're supposed to settle on it. We have timelines. And then you're looking at, oh my God, we don't have a contractor. And that just, that puts you behind just trying to find a contractor and then they're behind schedule. So that just puts everything behind. And there was enough spread in it. It was such a good deal. We could have just wholesaled it. Luckily we had another contracting team that, that goes to show you that you should probably have like 2 or 3 of each trade or GC, kind of in your back of your mind so that if things do happen, you can kind of pivot. So we didn't wholesale it, but that would be like an example of how you could do that.
Yeah, we came close. And then some equity sharing ideas.
So like if I guess basically if you're kind of in that you don't know what to do about it, or you need a cash injection. Just have a partnership, and this could be as much as when you're buying the house or when you're selling the house. But, having a partnership, like, private money lenders don't always just want, to have 8%, 2 points and, call it a day, or 10% or whatever. Sometimes they need to take appreciation. Sometimes they need to take a loss. Sometimes they'll give a less interest for, maybe, equity share in the property. And early on, when you're trying to get private lending, maybe that's some of the things that you offer up, and it could be a good deal, but you can't find any money. So, because you're new or whatever, but, if you, offer that instead, hey, can I get 5%, because that makes the rent numbers work, but I'll give you 35% on the back end when we sell the property. So just those kind of things, you can do an equity share that would help you get out of a jam, or, if you needed the capital. And we're just, we're actually selling a house, hopefully maybe Friday, maybe Monday, it's gonna close, but, it was early on. It's been a great rental for us. Just time to move on with that one. And, our private lender was 8%, but 35% equity. So she's gonna be, pretty happy when we sell the house on, this week, Monday, whatever, Friday or Monday, because she got the equity share. But it worked for us because we needed, we need a little less interest, and we needed different terms to make that a good rental. And it's been a great rental for us.
Yeah, we've had it for years and now we're selling it. So it worked for us with the partnerships. And sometimes, like Jane said, you find an equity partner and you work it out with them where, and then you can use them over and over again. And they're comfortable with the deals, and it's better giving up 35% than not having the property or that opportunity at all.
Yeah, like we're always of the mindset that, having a little bit of something is better than having a lot of nothing. So just kind of, and sometimes it just helps other people out with what they're looking to get.
And a lot of times the private money, they want quick in and out. So the ones that will allow you to, hold on to their money longer, to have long-term rentals, that's why you have to be more creative with working out deals with them. So you'll be able to use them. They'll be happy. They'll get the equity split at the end. So it's a win-win for everybody.
It's kind of the same lines with the JV partnership. Sometimes people want to bring one thing, the others want to bring another thing. It just, it makes getting out of a house easier if, you're just really in a jam, and then they can bring in some capital to maybe rehab it to make it a little better number. So just, don't always think, it's a no-win situation and I'll never get out of it. There's, private equity firms. That's another one that's basically, finding a PE firm, and, they'll, sometimes they buy properties, differently, and the numbers don't make sense to you, but they make sense to them. Or some of them, I think, early on, we were helping another investor, and like, they're like, why did they even buy these? They bought them totally wrong. Like it just didn't make any sense to us. But, at the end of the day, they had 10 properties from a private equity firm that they were getting us to help sell them. And, they bought the way they bought. So don't ever think that, there's other people, there's kind of an ask for every seat or every house. And, don't think for other people as to why they buy and how they buy.
That's right.
So that's another just, person you could reach out to. Or
And another good point with JV and with JV with somebody who has more experience than you, then you can glean and learn from them as you do the opportunity, whether it's a flip or a long-term or whatever you structure it. And then strategic default. This is like, this is probably the last ditch.
Another one we haven't done, or nor do we want to, but it is an option.
Is the short sale it. And I know it sucks, but, and it's, like I said, we've never had to do that, but this, like I said, a last ditch effort. If all else fails and you're really going to lose money, then that is an opportunity.
Yeah, and sometimes you just have to go back and renegotiate, maybe that's with the bank, and, just take your lumps and move on, because the property's just gonna keep bleeding you. If you're having an issue with you and you can't get the ship, kind of straight back on course, then it's gonna make everything worse. And if you have other properties, it's gonna suck into them. So, it's just a different way.
Yeah.
Again, for us, that would be like a,
Losing money up front instead of continuing to hold on to the property and make, the holding costs and paying the insurance and paying the taxes. It just gets overwhelming, gets too much.
and we're not an accountant, nor do we play one on TV, but I would guess that, maybe they have some strategies for that or how that would work. Again, we don't.
Exactly. And then some more advanced strategies that we're going to go through is a JV exit. And that would be, you would actually keep some of the equity in the house and and the JV partner would take over the property and create the strategy that works for them and continue kind of like pass the football to them and they run down the field.
And then maybe you just keep a little bit of the equity or a little bit of the profits. It's something that you can get out of the property. You've given somebody else that, because a lot of people that, it's like, oh, let's go do a Airbnb, and they don't know anything about an Airbnb, and then they kind of just get lost in that property, and then they're stuck. So basically the exit would be giving it to somebody that knows Airbnbs. Maybe you keep a little bit of the equity or a little bit of the profits, and then you've gotten rid of your problem. They know what to do with your problem, and they'll make it successful.
And the portfolio optimization, this is something that we're working on now with getting rid of some of our last houses we have in Maryland. As Nicole's favorite state.
And basically it's just, that sometimes the area doesn't, perform like you want it to, or, in this case for us, our contractor that we had up there, life happened, divorce, whatever, moved to a different state. So then that kind of left us, in that lurch where, I don't know, we just can't seem to find people to work up in Cumberland. And, so we needed some rehab stuff done, but we have, a couple really good houses, and then, maybe one that's less than. So if we sell them together, your two big houses bring up the value, you sell all three, and you kind of get the number that you're trying to get based on the two good houses, and maybe not so much on the third one.
And we kind of lucked out with this because one of the good houses, the renter moved out. So we're thinking, we can either take this strategy or flip that and continue with the rental. So we decided to do the portfolio optimization and add that to a couple, some really good house to a couple medium houses, and then one really issue house that needs a lot of work. So knock on wood, in a couple of weeks it's going to close. We're not going to jinx it, but
I just jinxed it. And a lot of times people sell, as a, turning the hat on a different side, as a buyer, you'll see these portfolios, and people are doing the same thing. So as long as you're aware of that when you're a buyer, so not only can you sell it, but when you're a buyer, then you can, kind of make sure you check every house, because there might be like 9 good ones and, one really crap one that, if the numbers don't make sense for all 10, then that's something you can negotiate the price down.
then we got debt restructuring, which this one would be the like refinance.
Yeah, it's just, moving some debt around. You could put your, whatever you have, whatever other houses, just kind of restructure things on that house or a different house, kind of putting it as a portfolio if you have that many houses. And it's kind of moving things around. And then go green is it's, as a country, I guess, there's the green movement, might attract different people. So if you have a house that's just kind of sitting, or you can't really get it going, maybe you put solar panels on it, or just environmentally safe things, and then maybe you get to a different crowd, or you're going to strike that one chord with somebody that's like, oh, this house is environmental, put the Tesla, things, the little charging station, or different things. Just maybe that attracts a different kind of renter buyer in your market.
And then you have the foreign buyers and even the out-of-state investors. Like we've gotten prices on houses in Florida that they bought for crazy prices that we would have never thought they would have purchased that high. And they were actually some from New York and some from California. So they're used to buying a house at such a high price point that it's a no-brainer for them to come into Florida and purchase a house at a much lower price point in their mind, but it doesn't match the ARV, but they're gonna hold on to it or use it in other ways, their niches or whatever for their business. And then also with the foreign investors, we see quite a few foreign investors coming in recently from different countries. We actually worked with a guy from the United Kingdom that we were buying tax liens and tax deeds with them. So they, come from different countries and they can capitalize here.
And I guess that's again, going back to don't think for the buyer when you're selling, because it basically, you don't know what they're, they might just be buying to take a loss. They might just be buying for depreciation. They might just be buying because they got to spend money. They just, so you never know what people are buying for. So, early on, we used to be like, oh, we wouldn't even put a house under contract because we're like, nobody's going to buy that. It's too high. Or, we would just dismiss it because we couldn't figure out why they were buying it. Again, when we moved to Florida, I still don't understand, but, a lot of investors they buy stuff that doesn't make sense to us, so don't just dismiss what you have and just say, well, this house is horrible and I'm never going to move it. And it's just a waste. And, because just put it out there somehow or try any of these exit strategies before you just like totally give up on it.
And I know I wrote out of state investors, but there were several that were out of state buyers to live in the home as well. Even though the price points were higher than the ARV for that house, they could sell their house in New York or California for like $1.5 million, 2 million, and then come get a really, really nice house closer on the beach for half of that price. And they're happy. We had our friends with a realtor who sells pretty high-end houses right on the water. And he was saying that just homeowners were coming in and putting just, their own money in over top of.
Yeah, 100,000 over ask
With cash,
just cash, no appraisal, no inspection, close in 30. So like that's the kind of offers we were going up against, the last couple of years, just because people were coming in. And again, it made sense to them. It made no sense to us, but it made sense to them because they could come in, have a very nice house for half of what they pay in California. The taxes were better, just, everything was better down in Florida as opposed to, and then the hurricane hit and they all ran back. Just kidding.
or half max. And property ideas for actually the land or the property is land development and rezoning. And
right, so again, if you just have a problem house and say it's like, in an area that's developing all around, maybe just think about, hey, what if I went to the development and he could get that extra acre, or you could develop something yourself, or maybe you see the development coming and that's, you put that out early and then, you get a good price for it, and maybe they just tear the house down and, kind of keep it moving with that one. And then just rezoning stuff, maybe you have a house that's a 6-bedroom that used to be a good rental. The big family moved out and now you're kind of like stuck. Rezone it as a boarding house or assisted living, or kind of getting into some commercial stuff there. But you just think about rezoning it, and maybe that works for that, or it's a different area. The area's changed from before, and it's something different you could do, or just rent by the room. I don't know. I'm not sure if you have to get rezoned for that, but just different ideas to try to get things moving.
we had a buddy that was trying to get some really big houses on a nice piece of land that he bought in Nashville. And when the market kind of starting to slack off, he decided to rezone to be able to get a couple more smaller houses on the plot of land instead of the larger houses. So that made sense for him because people weren't buying as big houses anymore, and the market's kind of coming down. So instead of putting like I think he was looking to put like $500,000 to $600,000 houses in, he scaled back to $200,000 to $250,000 houses in, and he actually went and got them rezoned. And the egress and ingress, they look at different things for rezoning. Even we had a couple plots of land in for houses that we bought near our community in Sarasota. And we thought about taking, it was one house in the middle and it was like plotted for 3. And we were thinking about taking that one down and putting 2 new builds up. We ended up, the market got hot and we ended up flipping it, making good money anyway, but different things to consider with the way the market goes and the trends. And we want to know if you guys have any questions or share your exit strategy ideas, if you had anything creative or different or exit strategies that worked for you. I'll do the stop share so we can see everybody.
Did we do good with our 15 minutes or
did we go over?
Always over? 15 minutes is tough, right?
You're in good
This is
company. I don't
Charlene.
think I
We
could
are
do
not
this.
going to run away because you guys go over. We are right here listening.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you both of you.
Anybody, any problems if they
Yeah.
need exit strategy? Where's
No.
Gene? He's always going.
Well, Eric,
Hey, Eric, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How about you guys?
Fantastic.
great.
So I don't have a question about exit strategy exactly, aside from empathizing with you that I'd like to get out of Maryland. I'm jealous of you being in Florida. As you're investing there in Florida, I've been wanting to kind of get out of Maryland and move to Florida myself. But on a previous meeting, you were talking about investing out of state. How hard is that for you? And, do you have any recommendations if I wanted to start doing that in Florida before I've moved? Is that, any thoughts or recommendations how to get started in that direction?
Yeah, again, we were kind of tossed into it. So I think you learn, at least for us, we learn better when we're tossed into things. So we were tossed into it, and that's kind of how that happened. If we had it to do again, we probably do some different things, but I think the most important thing is to, pick your area. A lot of what Nicole was talking about earlier, there's a lot of parallels between residential and commercial, and a lot of the due diligence, is the same due diligence we would do, with residential that she's doing. So you want to find the areas that, you have an affinity for, and then say you're going to think about moving to Tampa, for example. Then you want to start building a team in Tampa, whether that's based on you have family members there, you have friends there, you have, people on this call, there. It's however your network is, because we found that relationships are the end all be all, because that's what's going to get you going. So if you have, anybody in Florida and that's the area that you kind of want to start with, that's where you start with, and then you can do all your research on the computer, but at the end of the day, you're also going to you're going to need some boots, and you're going to have to, have a team. You're going to have an agent, a contractor, a property manager, all the stuff you're going to need. You're going to have that team. But, it's certainly doable. And if we had to do it again, we would. I don't, I wouldn't do anything different. We've learned, things as we go. Initially we would just have the contractor take pictures, and then, some of the contractors were just taking pictures of a different house. And then, surprise when we end up in Maryland, because we did make that 14-hour drive back and forth quite a bit.
Here we have family and friends.
Yeah, we still have family and friends there. So, a couple times it's like, that's not what the pictures are. So then you go to video, and then they get around that. And then, it's like your 5-year-old, they do the tricks to kind of get away with stuff. And then, now it's like,
really doing it in.
Yep. So now it's like
been an actual intentional trick.
Yep.
Not mistakes.
I'm sorry.
I was asking it that issues you ran into were intentional misphotographs or just kind of accidental, not doing a great job with the
No,
photographs?
Saw both.
a little both. I mean, you're gonna, as good as your team is, you're gonna, there's people that do the right thing and there's people that don't. So, if it's just something like landscaping or, it was nothing big, but it was still, they went in to whatever, do paint or do something and, they didn't get it done on time. So they just showed a different house, and then you just figure out ways to combat that. And now that's, you walk in, it's a continuous video, you show the mailbox, the door, the address, and then you walk in, you videotape everything. So you just have to figure out ways around stuff, but.
You have to educate them, then we have a certain way that we want them to videotape it. We want them to make all rights all around the house and then pan up and down and then go at least 2 angles of the room. So we're very diligent of the way, so we understand now how we want it to look, and then we can educate the people how to do it the right way for us.
Or surprise FaceTime or surprise, my sister lives down there and she's gonna pop in.
That-
That's the good thing about having an affinity for an area, that you have a lot of people in that can do those things for you.
And it's, building relationships. And we started building relationships in certain areas, and then we expanded and broadened our relationship building to broader, larger scale areas, and then got to become friends and build trusts with people who lived in different sections in different areas in different states. And then we started like partnering with them and joint venturing with them. And then it just expanded. It just
Except
organically expands. Yes.
can't find anybody in Congo.
Excellent.
I think
What area are you looking at in Florida?
For me, I was looking at more northern Florida, Jacksonville down to, I guess, even all the way down to Merritt Island.
Okay.
kind of the
Well, if it's
northeast
Merritt
area.
Island, we have people, we have
we
a
actually have.
rehabber, we have an Airbnb person, we have a real estate agent, so just, that's the good things about these groups and these meetings, that, you just never know who you're gonna meet, and if something matches up with somebody we know, so let us know.
And it doesn't even you don't even have to have people that are professionals there, just like Jane was saying. We had a house near where her sister lived, and she was able to pop in and kind of oversee it for us. And she's not an investor, but she's there and she can
Kick a little ass.
let us, tell us what's going on and give us updates. And so even if you have friends or family in a certain area, they can be your eyes and ears and their boots on the ground.
Great. Yeah. Excellent advice.
And then just
Are
like
the two
meetings
of
and
you available by email or communication aside from the discussion here?
Yeah, sure, we'll throw our email in there.
Okay, great.
Gene?
Hey there. I love how you guys network with other folks. It's causing me to open up, expand my mindset as well, because I like to do everything myself. I have a 2-part question just to kind of keep it in line with what Nicole talked about with regards to sub 2. First part is, what is your favorite sub 2 strategy as an exit strategy or entry strategy, whichever?
Again, it's just, helping people out, I think is the best thing, if subject to works, because it helps them out and it works for us. Again, as Nicole said, you just have to be careful now with interest rates and, because if you take it subject to and then all of a sudden they need, because life always happens, right? So what might have been the worst month of their life and they had to give up their house subject to, then they win the lottery and they're like, oh, I need you to cash me out right now. So you just have to be cognizant of, if you got in a subject to at 4% and now, they want cashed out, do you have to hurry up and put private money on it, or, how are you going to do that? So, we haven't done a lot of those. So, I see that kind of coming up in our future with different things, but at the end of the day, you're solving people's problems, and whatever is the best way is that's going to help everybody out, and it's kind of what we look to do.
And Nicole had a great idea with us that if you do come up with a subject to property and there's a lot of equity built in it, then you share or give the homeowner a chip to that equity because, as she said, they worked hard to build that equity up. So, take it subject to and then still keep them in on some of the backside.
Right on. Yeah, I'm of the same mentality, just helping people out. So one of the sub twos I sold in 2021, I didn't have to, but I gave her some money back as well.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is
So
real estate, okay, so I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I want to hear this. Yep.
Yeah, I think as real estate investors, and I think that's why a lot of people, wholesalers or whoever get a bad rap, or investors in general sometimes, because, it's just like, I want this, I want that, they throw out the offers, but, instead of just saying, what is it that you need? And it could be something as simple as, I'll give you the house at X amount of dollars. I just need somebody to help me move because, all my family's up north, or all my family's passed away and I gotta get to my next place and I can't pack my stuff up, so sometimes you just really have to listen to what the pain is for whoever, and it might be something like really simple, or I need to find a home for my dog. I can't leave, until I do that. And people are just, all about the money, and that's not really what the problem is all the time.
I agree 100%. Thank you.
Yep.
My second question hits close to home as well, because I also invest in Dundalk, and I have several rental properties there, and I am actually losing good tenants to home ownership, and I'm happy for them. And the way they're losing it, I'm losing them to another investor who's doing lease options with them
Yeah.
on finding other owners that are looking to sell, and then telling them, hey, collecting $20,000-$30,000 down payment, and then putting him on a higher interest rate, making money on the spread. I'm curious to get your feedback or input, because right now I'm debating, because I've had one tenant ask me, hey, would you sell me the property? And I said, well, let's give it a year, see how it goes. And then I have a year to figure out, I guess, how I'm going to set up a lease option. And I'm curious to see, how you would recommend, if any, on how I could set it up.
That almost sounded like it was more of an owner finance with an interest rate. A true lease option would be, they would give you an option fee and then they would be paying rent to you for a predisclosed amount of time, whether, sometimes 2 years, 3 years, up to 5 years, however it's set up. And then none of that money can go toward the purchase of the house. That has to be strictly rent, because then you have to follow the Dodd-Frank laws, and that would be more of an owner finance. So with a true lease option, you have to structure it the right way. And then at the end of whatever, the option period, then they can exercise their option to purchase the house. And then, whatever predisposed price that you decided to sell the house to them for, and then they would go and purchase the house through a bank or whatever loan that they're able to get. When we do our lease options, we even try to go further into helping them find a bank or a mortgage company that will, that will give them the loan. So a true lease option would be that, and then you can structure it any way you want, such as, like, an example would be, they would make any kind of corrections or rehab or fix up the house up to a certain money amount. Like, I'll be Nicole, I'm making this up. It could be up to 5,000, up to 1,000. And then if anything over and above that, then you as the owner would fix like the big ticket items if something happens, or you can structure it any way you want with the homeowner. They could, make all the corrections, but at the same time, you're going to pay the taxes, you're going to pay the insurance and that sort of thing. It's still your house. They're renting it, but at the end of the structured predisposed period of time, then they're going to buy it.
And I think the only problem with Maryland would be that, should things go south, the foreclosure kind of thing, if you did it a different way, and I mean, I can speak to that right now because we're going through that. Another problem house in Maryland up in Cecil County. And
You hear the theme here.
Yeah.
Problem houses are all in.
so, and he was a good guy. He was paying on time, working, all that good stuff. And then something went south in his life or whatever, and he wasn't paying, found out he was probably not in a place that he wanted to be, aka jail. So, we're kind of, and then we're left with, we closed through a title company and, mortgage payments and all that stuff. But, that now we're left with trying to figure out the whole foreclosure nonsense in Maryland, which none of it sounds like a good option for us. So, hopefully he's gonna get out here soon and we're gonna try to
Work something out.
remodify and work something out with him just to,
Yeah.
I mean, he was a good kid, kind of paying when he was supposed to, and he started out young, so we're gonna
And-
try to work with him, but I'm not looking forward to that if that doesn't.
So that was,
play out.
and that was a non-lease option, right? Is what you're saying, like doing a
Yeah,
wrap
we
or something?
sold, we actually sold that on like a mortgage note.
Went through a
Okay,
title company, sold it at like, mortgage note
Okay.
and did everything compliant, but
And again, it's again, states, there's different states that different things work better. Maryland not being one of them, but if you are losing all your tenants and you can somehow protect yourself, obviously check with the lawyer, but I don't know if you could, and maybe Nicole knows, maybe you could do a land contract. I don't know if Maryland is one to do that, but do a land contract with that clause in there that says if you don't pay after 30 days or 60 days, it returns to a rental, and then you have your eviction back in place as opposed to a foreclosure.
okay.
Yeah, we still have a couple of companies that do residential, and one of the things we do, and I don't know if this applies, is that we have a program from the time they come in that's called basically a path to home ownership.
Mhm.
And they come in as a renter with the idea, and they're basically, they have to be a renter for a year, 18 months and pay on time. And if they do that, then we will, and they are expected to gain some down payment, then we will move them to a lease option or a contract for deed, making sure that they understand that if they don't pay, then it reverts back. If they have a reasonable down payment after the rental, then we'll just do an owner finance with an expectation that they buy us out in 3 to 5 years. And so we actually have a program that's written up that moves people from one place to another, because the last thing I want to do is bring somebody in on an owner finance or a lease with an option deal. Anything that says that somebody may have an equitable interest in the property, because now you're looking at foreclosure as opposed to eviction.
Mhm.
And I want a year or more of on-time payments before I want to take that risk. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of, you can set it up like that with people.
Yep. And thank you. These are great nuggets, and I completely agree with you, both actually on that. So I'm struggling to find a good balance, because as a buy and hold person, I think it's great that people are owning homes. At the same time, it's like I go through hardship in finding the property, rehabbing it, and what's how do you guys set it up so that you feel reasonable with? I feel like I'm giving my baby away. So, how do you set it up so that like you feel like, hey, this wasn't a bad, like, how much down payment makes sense? How much, I'm not going to sell it at today's price. How do you determine all that?
I think
So
it's different. Go ahead. Go ahead, Nicole.
No, you guys go ahead.
I think it's different for different markets. You don't want to charge a down payment that makes it look like you're just trying to be a lender kind of
Mhm.
thing. I mean, there's different things. You have to follow Dodd-Frank. There's all kind of stuff that, you don't want to be predatory.
the price of the house.
Yeah, and the way we do things is, we want to give them equity in the house so they can refi, like our main goal is we want them to own the home. Like, we don't go into this thinking we want to get their mortgage payment for 25 years. We don't want to be the bank for 25 years. We want to redeploy that capital. So our main goal is to help them get their credit up. It's to help them, find a mortgage company, and if you put them through all those steps and they still don't do what they need to do, then that's on them. But at least I can say we got their credit score up. We did this, life's going to happen. They're going to wreck a car and then go buy a new one and ruin that at the time that they were going to refinance. There's all that stuff that's going to happen. But at the end of the day, you're just trying to get them to that finish line. And then we're happy that they own the home. Like, that's the best thing for us. We've only had one person cash out, and I think his uncle left him money or something, and he just cashed out right away. And that was a good day for us, because we got the kids in there that they probably wouldn't typically been able to get their own home. We got their credit up, everything worked out, and then at the end of the day they cashed out and they're homeowners.
And we have a little program where the first 3 or 4 months, we kind of hold their hand, help them out, teach them the difference between rental and home ownership, and the expectations, and the do's and don'ts, and we try to set them up for success and work with them throughout. As long as they're helping themselves too and making the payments and doing what needs to be done, then joint effort kind of lift them up and teach them, showing them the ropes, and then they're proud and excited and happy. They go in there and they paint the walls what color they want to paint the walls. They can bring their dogs or cats in there. They have start raising their family in that house. So it's pride of home ownership.
Great.
Nicole?
So for me, a lot of times it comes down to my cash on cash return, because it's how hard my money's working for me. And so and that is balanced out by, kind of the quality of the property. So if I have something that I really like the area, I really like the housing, and it is going to be, it's something that's going to be great over the long term, then if I want to own or finance it, I will probably put into the contract that they can't finance me out for 15 years.
Okay.
Or something on that order. So I have rental income for a certain amount of time. But the truth of the matter is probably somewhere between, at least my experience is somewhere in between 25 and 50% of people only are actually going to cash you out.
Okay.
A lot of them just don't. So on the other hand, if they have given me some money, or the appreciation, the house has gone up in value, then I will, if I can get out in 2 to 3 years and have a 20%, 18 to 20% return on my money, that's better for me than if I keep them in as renters for 10 years and I only get a 12% cash on cash return.
Okay.
So it's some of this is how hard your money's working for you. What else you can do with it? So you can 1031 exchange if somebody cashes you out. You just have to set that up in advance. So I know it's hard to find properties, that you've done a lot to try and find them and keep them. I just, say that you need to think about what you're really wanting to do. I buy and hold, so I hate to get rid of properties, but I also own or finance and lease option, and then figure out that I'm going to reinvest that money into something else. So, I mean, it's a, whatever you want to do is, you just need to get clear on what your goals are and what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, thank you both. I definitely feel like I land on both, where I definitely want to help people. I think ownership is great, especially if they're great tenants. I feel bad for them that they're paying me for all these years. But you know, some will, like you said, and some won't. And yeah, I'm willing to. My main goal is obviously we're all in this business for financial freedom, mainly, and help people along the way. So that's where it tugs at me. Like I want to help, but at the same time, I don't want to give my future financial freedom. But like you, if I have a say like a 10-year strategy where I know I'm going to get the cash flow for at least 10 years, then I guess I'm okay with that.
Yeah, again, it comes back to the numbers. It doesn't, if it
Mhm.
doesn't make sense to lose money on a house and you could own or finance it or lease option it, and that makes sense more, then you just kind of have to follow the numbers.
True,
It's
true.
like follow your numbers, follow your heart, and kind of somewhere in between solve the problems of your making money and them being happy.
And
Awesome.
One of the
part of,
things I like with contract for deed or some of those others is that I have shifted all the expenses over to the homeowner. And
Sure.
so I'm for all intents and purposes, I'm on a triple net lease.
Okay.
And
Yes.
so, that puts my cash flow up a whole lot.
Okay.
And I will typically on those, if somebody is relatively new, you can have within that contract that if they don't do whatever you need them to do, or, for 10 years or whatever, I mean, you put your time on it, that you have an option to buy it back at the current market rate minus 10% or whatever you want to do, something like that. So you link the sale with an option if things don't go the way you want it to.
Okay.
But I was just gonna bring up that when you join the virtual REI Academy, it goes into more advanced strategies of options, and a lot of a lot of investors aren't using options as strategies, and that's a whole different level of thinking and strategizing and investing. And that's some of the new content that we're going to be adding onto the virtual REI Academy. So another reason to join that and get more updated current information on really advanced strategies.
Awesome. Will do. Thank you both. I appreciate that. Thank you all three. I mean, I appreciate that.
Thanks again for being here. Appreciate it. Any other questions? Comments? Anything on anything?
Hey, Jen and Sharon, when you typed in your email address, I think you cut off part of it. So I actually put the correct email address below it in case anybody wants to get in touch with you. They don't get a bounce back and think that you're just playing them or something.
Oh my goodness, I'm sorry.
No,
Just
it's
trying to
okay.
do it fast.
It's a long one.
I'm so glad you found that, and everybody write down or copy the one that James did, not the one I did.
Hi, I
Hi.
have a question.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
from the discussion that I've heard tonight in the group, it sounds like you all have thrown the state of Maryland away for buying anything or being landlord. So I'm hoping to be able to get my hands on some cash in the next month or so. And now I'm kind of thinking maybe I should probably start somewhere else, because I was thinking Baltimore City. But if that's not an option, or if I should look elsewhere, is there any other state that you can think of that might be easier for someone who's just starting out?
I don't hate Maryland. I hate Maryland, and part of it is we're not there. So if you're there and you have a good team, Maryland has, they have some cheaper houses that you can get into houses a little bit cheaper. Obviously Gene's in Dundalk and he's doing some good stuff there. Nicole has some cash flowing properties. Part of our thing with Maryland is we're not there. I can't sit in Cumberland. I can't go up there for a month and, try to get a team together. It's just, we had a team, and then when that team kind of dissipated, that's more of a pain for us. But, you know, if you do a lot of things the right way and you have a good property management, and it's probably some things we did wrong. You know, initially, because when we started in 2016, you know, Baltimore City was our stomping ground there for what we, you know, where we gathered up a bunch of houses, and maybe we gathered them up too quick, and, you know, maybe we didn't, you know, we got a young property manager who were like, oh yeah, you know, we're all gonna grow up together and this is so cool, but he didn't know what he was doing. We weren't really sure what we were doing, you know, so circumstances play into that. And I'm not saying Maryland's horrible. It's just, you know, you just have to make sure you're doing things right, get some guidance on property management. You know, the numbers are good if you have good tenants and you do things the right way. Or you're in a good zip code, or
We have a guy that would work with us, and he likes Anne Arundel County and what is it, Fargo, like Anne Arundel, and I can't remember that other. There's a couple counties, and he'll flip with us, like we could, you know, JV partner, and he'll, you know, do market flips with us. If so, there's different strategies to work in Florida too. I mean, I'm sorry, in Maryland too. You don't, you know, just have to strictly do rentals, and you can do other counties and, you know, stronger areas that your ROI is going to be higher and you're going to have a better spread. So, you know, and like Jane said, you are there and you can get boots on the ground and you can oversee things a lot easier.
Are you wanting to rent? Are you wanting to, what do you see yourself doing?
I want to be, it's buy and hold strategy.
Okay. So one of the things I will say is that Baltimore City
Mm-hmm.
has more stringent requirements than a lot of the rest of Maryland,
Okay.
particularly in terms of landlords versus tenants. So are you in and around Baltimore? Is that where you live?
No, I live in Upper Marlboro, Maryland.
Okay. So one of the things in general, if you are out in more rural part of Maryland, so out on the Eastern Shore, for example, things
Mhm.
aren't as tough. If you go to Western Maryland, they're not as tough. But if you're in and around the counties that are, you know, kind of the big population centers, my opinion is that it's tougher, that you're dealing with more bureaucracy.
Okay.
And so Delaware isn't a bad state. Virginia is a really good state. It's easy to work in Virginia. So, you know, whatever you want to think about there, the positive of Baltimore City is that prices are cheaper and rents are still reasonable. I just know a lot of people think it's a tough town to be a landlord in.
Yeah, I only really picked Baltimore City. One, I'm kind of familiar with it as I went to college in that area. And two, the price point to entry is good for me for, you know, when I'm starting out. So I don't have a lot of cash, but I should be able to at least have a nice down payment for something there. So that's the only reason why it was kind of on my radar. But that's why I was asking if I could should look someplace else.
You know, there are a whole lot of people that invest in Maryland and make it work. So I'd say if you want to do that, that you need to hook up with some other of the investment community who has made it work, and that you can learn from them in that area.
Okay.
Marissa also put the name and phone number, or the email and phone number for James Gagnon, who is a property manager in Maryland, has been very successful. I have never used them, so take it with a grain of salt, but other people have used them. So maybe you want to get together with them and go, hey, you know, what does it look like if I'm a landlord in Maryland? Kind of give me worst case and have you walk them through it, or have him walk you through it, and then kind of make your decision based on that. So just an idea.
Okay. Thank you.
There are, like, for Baltimore City, they have their own, like Nicole said, set of rules and all to follow. And we knew another investor who didn't quite do all the paperwork and submit all the paperwork properly. And then when he went to evict the tenant, they could not, that no judge would evict them because they didn't have their rental set up
A rental
properly.
agreement.
It's the rental agreement and all that set up properly. And so then they were like at a stalemate. It was horrible. They couldn't get the tenant out. The tenant wasn't paying. They didn't set it up properly. So James is right to have a strong property manager to make sure all the paperwork's in order and everything's submitted properly in Baltimore City is important.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. All right, guys, we want to be respectful of everybody's time, and we're at the hour mark. Well, we could just keep going on.
I know. Thank you,
We
everybody.
appreciate everybody coming back every week, and hopefully we get bigger and better. And we're actually in Orlando right now trying to get some help with some different things to bring back to you guys. So
Marketing and such. And I think next week is.
yeah, next week is July 4th, so we won't
not gonna have a
we
meeting
won't make
next-
you come on a holiday.
So it's gonna be the next week. And are we doing the
I think we're gonna do, I think we had scheduled bloopers and just trying to fail the right way and
fail forward type of thing, like
instead of failing backwards, so we're gonna do that one.
like mistakes and how we corrected them and things we do different?
See everybody next week.
Bye,
Not next
everybody.
week, 2 weeks.
Bye. Have a nice holiday.
Thank you.
Happy
Happy
holidays,
July
everybody.
4th. Yep. Thank you.
Happy July 4th.